Hey everyone. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to play Greater Fool. Greater Fool is a trick-taking card game for 3 to 4 players. I think it works really well as a 3-player game, so that's the player count I would recommend it at, but it works perfectly well at 4 as well. So let's dive right into it. So, Greater Fool takes place over 4 rounds, and whoever has the most points at the end of the 4 rounds wins the game. So, we're all going to start with a bunch of cards, and let me first talk about the kind of cards that we have in the game. So the deck of cards has 37 unique cards from 1 to 37. And the cards fall into 3 suits, and each card has an assigned suit. So if you open the cheat sheet in the bottom left over here, you can see the full set of cards. So it's not like every suit has all the cards. There are different cards in each of the 3 suits. So there's yellow, blue, and red. And broadly, the red cards have the higher numbers, the yellow cards have the lower numbers, and the blue cards are kind of distributed throughout the entire range. The 19 is special. It's green. It is the starting price of the jewel. I will explain what that means in a second. So those are the 37 cards in the game. You'll also notice each card has a certain number of dots on it in the bottom left. And those dots represent how many points the card is worth. All right, so more dots means more points. Great. So at the start of the round, you have to give away 1 card to the reserve. And the reserve comes into play at the end of the round, so don't worry too much about this yet. But you will basically give up one of your cards, and nobody knows which card this is. It's just not in the round until the round ends. So I am going to give up this 6, and it's just out of my hand now. Great. The next step is you have to give 1 card to the player on your left and 1 card to the player on your right. And you will receive, cards from them as well. So I am going to give the 7 to bot 2. And then I'll give the 9 to bot 1. And I'm going to get some new cards in return. Perfect. And now I'm the first player. Okay. So once all of that passing back and forth is done, we are ready to play the round. Greater Fool is a standard trick-taking game, so I will start with a card, and whatever the suit of that card is, everyone else must play that suit if they have it. So you have to follow suit. So if I play a yellow card, everyone has to play a yellow card unless they can't. Whoever plays the highest card in the lead suit wins the trick. So if I play a yellow card, then whoever plays the highest yellow card wins the trick. The trick is the set of cards in the middle, and they get to be the first player for the next trick. So that's standard trick-taking rules. However, there's a catch. So there's 2 twists, or two rules. The first rule is that when you win the trick, you take all the points on all the cards in that trick. And the points are, remember, these like little dots in the bottom left. So let's just... if I play the 36, which is one of the highest cards in the game, and there are 2 more red cards here, I will win the trick and I'll take all of these points and it'll get added to my score, which is represented by this number in the bottom right corner of my box. However, there's this wrinkle, which is there is this jewel that keeps shuffling between the players, and the jewel has a price. So the starting price of the jewel is 19. And I am the current owner of the jewel. That's why it's in my video box. So the first player in the round just gets the starting jewel, which is the 19. Now, I said that the highest card in the lead suit wins the trick, but that's not quite true. If you play a card that is below the current price of the jewel, it's not the highest card in the trick that wins it. It's the highest card under the jewel price that wins the trick. So let's see an example of this. So let's start normal. So I'm going to play a 36 red. Everyone else has to play red if they can. Okay, so we got a 26 and we got a 14. However, the 14 is under the price of the jewel. So the 14 was under 19. So it's not the highest card that wins. It's now the highest card under the jewel price that wins. So the 14 wins the trick. You'll notice that bot 2, who played the 14, their score went up by the number of points in that trick. And what happens is if you undercut the price of the jewel, the card you played to win the trick now becomes the new price of the jewel. So now I no longer own the jewel, and the price of the jewel is no longer 19. Now bot 2 owns the jewel, and the price of the jewel is 14. So the price has dropped. Okay? So, okay, cool, big deal. There's this jewel that's kind of passing hands. What's the big deal? Well, the big deal is when the round ends, when everyone has played all of their cards, if you are stuck holding the jewel, you will incur a really big penalty. And the penalty is equal to 3 times the total number of points on all the reserve cards. So if you remember the reserve cards, you gave 1 card to the reserve at the beginning of the round. So did every other player. So there's 3 cards in the reserve. If you add up all the points on all those cards and multiply it by 3, that's how many points you will lose if you are stuck holding the jewel at the end of the round. So the jewel is this interesting mechanic where you have this way of winning the trick by undercutting the price of the jewel, but then you are stuck holding the jewel and you really want to be able to get rid of it as soon as possible. So you can win the trick, you can win all these points that are up for grabs at the risk of being stuck with it and incurring a huge penalty at the end. That is kind of the trade-off you are making. And because you have a fair bit of information about the cards in the game, because each card corresponds to a specific suit and you can sort of keep track of which cards have gone and which cards haven't. Of course, you don't know the reserve cards, but you know what you put in the reserve. There are really interesting maneuvers you can make to get the points and then wriggle out of owning the jewel by the end of the round. So that's kind of the thought process behind this game. You'll notice that bot 2, who is leading the trick, played a 5. So now 5 is below 14, so the price of the jewel is going to drop again. So that informs how you should play. So for example, if you're stuck with the 1 or the 2 or the 3, now would be a great opportunity to play it because you're not going to win the trick. Because again, when the price of the jewel is undercut, it's the highest card under the jewel price that wins the trick. So right now the 5 is winning the trick. If you play a 1, the 5 is still winning the trick. So if you're stuck with a really low card, you have to think about when you can get rid of it so that you're not stuck owning the jewel at the end. One rule I want to clarify is it's the highest card that wins the trick. If the price is undercut, it's the highest card under the jewel price that wins the trick, but it's always the highest card regardless of suit. Okay? So if I lead with a red card and there's somebody who plays a non-red card, but it's the highest card, they will still win the trick. So that gives you a lot of flexibility if you have to play offsuit. If you play offsuit, you can play anything and you could potentially still win the trick. You're not ineligible just because you can't follow suit. So let's play out a few more rounds of this just to give you the idea. So the lead suit is yellow. I have to play yellow. I could try to win the trick here with a 12 because 12 is closer to 14 than 5 is. Great. So I won the trick, and now I am the owner of the jewel, and the price has dropped to 12. Final thing I want to mention is when you win the trick, normally you take all the points on all the cards in the trick. But if one of those cards is about to become the new jewel, then you don't take the points on that card. It just stays in your video box until possession of the jewel changes. All right? So if a new person, so right now, like bot 2 should have gotten these 2 points, but they didn't because that is the current jewel. If there's a new jewel, then the 8 will go to them, and then they'll finally get those 2 points that they deserved. All right? So that's just a little wrinkle in when you get those points. Yeah, that's the entire game. It's very thinky. It's a great 3-player game because you have a lot of information and a lot of flexibility to make interesting strategic decisions. And yeah, I really hope you like this one. Thanks so much. Bye.